30,000 feet above Earth, your body can black out before you even realize you're falling. And somehow, a few people still survived. That sounds impossible, but it happened. In 1972, a flight exploded in midair over Europe. Metal ripped apart. Passengers vanished into the clouds. And one woman, 22-year-old flight attendant Vesna Vulović, fell more than 30,000 feet without a parachute and lived. No wings, no special suit, no miracle technology, just a human body falling from the edge of the sky. But here's the strange part. She wasn't the only one. Since the 1940s, nearly 50 people have survived falls from airplanes. Some crashed through trees. Others slammed into snow. One man even smashed through a glass roof and somehow walked away alive. So the real question is, if you fell out of an airplane at 30,000 feet right now, what would actually happen? The moment you leave the aircraft, your brain refuses to process reality. 1 second you're inside a pressurized cabin. The next, there's only roaring wind and empty sky beneath you. And then your body starts shutting down. At that altitude, temperatures can drop below -50 degrees Celsius, cold enough to freeze exposed skin in minutes. But you probably wouldn't even notice, because oxygen disappears first. What happens next changes everything. The air pressure that high is so low your lungs struggle to absorb oxygen. Within seconds, your vision narrows. Your thoughts slow down. Then suddenly, darkness. You pass out. Imagine falling unconscious through the sky at hundreds of kilometers per hour while gravity quietly pulls you closer to Earth. And that's when things get terrifying. Because from 30,000 feet, you only have around 170 seconds before impact. Less than 3 minutes between life and whatever comes next. But that's not even the craziest part. While you're unconscious, gravity keeps accelerating your body faster and faster. Every second, you gain speed. Faster, faster, until the air itself starts fighting back. And this is where it gets weird. You don't keep accelerating forever. Eventually, the force of air resistance becomes strong enough to balance gravity. That's called terminal velocity. For most humans, that speed is around 190 kilometers per hour. At that point, you're no longer falling faster. You're just falling endlessly at highway speeds straight toward the planet. But here's the twist. Your body position changes everything. If you tumble headfirst, you fall even faster. But if you spread your arms and legs wide like a skydiver, you create drag and slow yourself slightly. Not enough to save you, but maybe enough to change where you land. And that tiny difference could decide everything. Because almost every survivor had one thing in common. Something broke their fall. Deep snow, thick trees, swamps, roofs, pieces of the airplane itself. Vesna Vulović survived because she was trapped inside the tail section of the aircraft when it detached. The wreckage hit a snowy mountainside and absorbed much of the impact. But another survivor's story sounds even more unbelievable. During World War II, Air Force gunner Alan McGee was thrown from a burning bomber over France without a parachute. He fell more than 20,000 feet and somehow crashed through the glass roof of a train station. That glass shattered his speed just enough to keep him alive. Think about that for a second. A roof made of glass became the difference between death and survival. But that raises a disturbing question. If survival depends entirely on where you land, is falling itself really what kills you? Or is it the sudden stop at the end? Because technically, humans survive the fall every single time. It's the impact that destroys them. And that realization changes the entire nightmare. So now imagine you regain consciousness halfway down. The ground is no longer distant. It's rushing toward you at terrifying speed. Your ears scream from the wind. Your body shakes violently. And for the first time, you fully understand what's happening. You are about to hit Earth at nearly 200 kilometers per hour. Panic takes over. But survival suddenly becomes a game of tiny decisions. Could you aim for trees? A swamp? Snow? Even bushes could increase your odds slightly. But here's the problem. At terminal velocity, steering your body is incredibly difficult. You're not flying. You're barely controlling chaos. And this is where things become brutally counterintuitive. Landing in water sounds safer than concrete. But at extreme speeds, water behaves almost like solid ground. Many people would rather hit snow than a lake. What happens next changes everything. If impact becomes unavoidable, experts say your best chance is landing feet first with your legs together and slightly bent. Not to save your legs, to protect your organs and brain. Your body would likely collapse sideways after impact in something called the 5-point sequence. Violent, agonizing, but possibly survivable. Possibly. And yet, despite all the physics, all the probabilities, and all the impossible odds, some people still survive. Which means somewhere inside the chaos, there's a terrifying truth most people never think about. Falling from 30,000 feet is not automatically a death sentence. Rare? Absolutely. Almost impossible? Yes. But impossible things happen more often than we want to believe. And maybe that's the most unsettling part of all. Because the next time you look out an airplane window at the clouds below, you'll realize something disturbing. Somewhere between the freezing air, the silence, and the endless drop, there's still a tiny chance a human being could survive. But if that chance existed for you, would you even want to know how it ends?